coming home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming.
Jeremiah, chapter 31.
The Lord said, Israel, I promise that someday all your tribes will again be my people, and I will be your God. In the desert I was kind to those who escaped death. I gave them peace, and when the time is right, I'll do the same for you. I, the Lord, have spoken. Some time ago the Lord appeared to me and told me to say, Israel, I will always love you. That's why I've been so patient and kind. You are precious to me, and so I will rebuild your nation. Once again you will dance for joy and play your tambourines. You will plant vineyards on the hills of Samaria and enjoy the grapes. Someday those who guard the hill country of Ephraim will shout, Let's go to Zion and worship the Lord our God. The Lord says, Celebrate and sing for Israel, the greatest of nations. Offer praises and shout. Come and rescue your people, Lord. Save what's left of Israel. I, the Lord, will bring my people back from Babylonia and everywhere else on earth. The blind and the lame will be there. Expectant mothers and women about to give birth will come and be part of that great crowd. They will weep and pray as I bring them home. I will lead them to streams of water. They will walk on a level road and not stumble. I am a father to Israel, my favorite children. Listen to me, you nations nearby or across the sea. I scattered the people of Israel, but I will gather them again. I will protect them like a shepherd guarding a flock. I will rescue them from enemies who could overpower them. My people will come to Mount Zion and celebrate. Their faces will glow because of my blessings. I'll give them grain, grapes and olive oil, as well as sheep and cattle. Israel will be prosperous and grow like a garden with plenty of water. Young women and young men, together with the elderly, will celebrate and dance, because I will comfort them and turn their sorrow into happiness. I will bless my people with more food than they need, and the priests will enjoy the choice cuts of meat. I, the Lord, have spoken. In Ramah a voice is heard, crying and weeping loudly. Rachel mourns for her children and refuses to be comforted because they are dead. But I, the Lord, say to dry your tears. Someday your children will come home from the enemy's land. Then all you have done for them will be greatly rewarded. So don't lose hope. I, the Lord, have spoken. The people of Israel moan and say to me,
We were like wild bulls, but you, Lord, broke us, and we learned to obey. You are our God. Please let us come home. When we were young, we strayed and sinned, but then we realized what we had done. We are ashamed and disgraced and want to return to you.
People of Israel, you are my own dear children. Don't I love you best of all? Though I often make threats, I want you to be near me, so I will have mercy on you. I, the Lord, have spoken. With rock piles and signposts, mark the way home, my dear people. It is the same road by which you left. Will you ever decide to be faithful? I will make sure that someday things will be different as a woman protecting a man. The Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel, said,
I promise to set the people of Judah free and to lead them back to their hometowns. And when I do, they will once again say, We pray that the Lord will bless his home, the sacred hill in Jerusalem where his temple stands. The people will live in Jerusalem and in the towns of Judah. Some will be farmers and others will be shepherds. Those who feel tired and worn out will find new life and energy, and when they sleep, they will wake up refreshed. Someday Israel and Judah will be my field where my people and their livestock will grow. In the past, I took care to uproot them, to tear them down and to destroy them. But when that day comes, I will take care to plant them and help them grow. No longer will anyone go around saying, "Sour grapes eaten by parents leave a sour taste in the mouths of their children." When that day comes, only those who eat sour grapes will get the sour taste, and only those who sin will be put to death.
The Lord said, "The time will surely come when I will make a new agreement with the people of Israel and Judah. It will be different from the agreement I made with their ancestors when I led them out of Egypt. Although I was their God, they broke that agreement. Here is the new agreement that I, the Lord, will make with the people of Israel.
I will write my laws on their hearts and minds. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will they have to teach one another to obey me. I, the Lord, promise that all of them will obey me, ordinary people and rulers alike. I will forgive their sins and forget the evil things they have done. I am the Lord all-powerful. I command the sun to give light each day, the moon and stars to shine at night, and ocean waves to roar. I will never forget to give those commands, and I will never let Israel stop being a nation. I, the Lord, have spoken. Can you measure the heavens? Can you explore the depths of the earth? That's how hard it would be for me to reject Israel forever, even though they have sinned. I, the Lord, have spoken.
The Lord said, "Someday Jerusalem will truly belong to me. It will be rebuilt with a boundary line running from Hananel Tower to Corner Gate. From there the boundary will go in a straight line to Gareb Hill, then turn toward Goa. Even that disgusting Hinnom Valley will be sacred to me, and so will the eastern slopes that go down from Horse Gate into Kidron Valley. Jerusalem will never again be destroyed."
Jeremiah, chapter 32.
The Lord spoke to me in the 10th year that Zedekiah was king of Judah, which was the 18th year that Nebuchadnezzar was king of Babylonia. At that time the Babylonian army had surrounded Jerusalem, and I was in the prison at the courtyard of the palace guards. Zedekiah had ordered me to be held there, because I told everyone that the Lord had said, "I am the Lord, and I am about to let the king of Babylonia conquer Jerusalem. King Zedekiah will be captured and taken to King Nebuchadnezzar, who will speak with him face to face. Then Zedekiah will be led away to Babylonia, where he will stay until I am finished with him. So if you people of Judah fight against the Babylonians, you will lose. I, the Lord, have spoken." Later, when I was in prison, the Lord said,
Jeremiah, your cousin Hanamel, the son of your uncle Shallum, will visit you. He must sell his field near the town of Anathoth, and because you are his nearest relative, you have the right and the responsibility to buy it and keep it in the family.
Hanamel came just as the Lord had promised, and he said,
"Please buy my field near Anathoth in the territory of the Benjamin tribe. You have the right to buy it, and if you do, it will stay in our family."
The Lord had told me to buy it from Hanamel, and so I did. The price was 17 pieces of silver, and I weighed out the full amount on a scale. I had 2 copies of the bill of sale written out, each containing all the details of our agreement. Some witnesses and I signed the official copy, which was folded and tied before being sealed shut with hot wax. Then I gave Hanamel the silver, and while he, the witnesses, and all the other Jews sitting in the courtyard were still watching, I gave both copies to Baruch, son of Neriah. I told Baruch that the Lord had said, "Take both copies of this bill of sale, one sealed shut and the other open, and put them in a clay jar so they will last a long time. I am the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel, and I promise you that people will once again buy and sell houses, farms and vineyards in this country." Then I prayed, "Lord God, you stretched out your mighty arm and made the sky and the earth. You can do anything. You show kindness for 1,000 generations, but you also punish people for the sins of their parents. You are the Lord all-powerful. With great wisdom you make plans, and with your great power you do all the mighty things you planned. Nothing we do is hidden from your eyes, and you reward or punish us as we deserve. You are famous because you worked miracles in Egypt, and you are still working them in Israel and in the rest of the world as well. You terrified the Egyptians with your miracles, and you reached out your mighty arm and rescued your people Israel from Egypt. Then you gave Israel this land, rich with milk and honey, just as you had promised our ancestors. But when our ancestors took over the land, they did not obey you. And now you have punished Israel with disaster. Jerusalem is under attack, and we suffer from hunger and disease. The Babylonians have already built dirt ramps up to the city walls, and you can see that Jerusalem will be captured just as you said. So why did you tell me to get some witnesses and buy a field with my silver when Jerusalem is about to be captured by the Babylonians?" The Lord explained,
"Jeremiah, I am the Lord God. I rule the world, and I can do anything. It is true that I am going to let King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia capture Jerusalem. The Babylonian army is already attacking, and they will capture the city and set it on fire. The people of Jerusalem have made me angry by going up to the flat roofs of their houses and burning incense to Baal and offering wine sacrifices to other gods. Now these houses will be burned to the ground. The kings and the officials, the priests and the prophets, and everyone else in Israel and Judah have turned from me and made me angry by worshipping idols. Again and again I have tried to teach my people to obey me, but they refuse to be corrected. I am going to get rid of Jerusalem because its people have done nothing but evil. They have set up disgusting idols in my temple, and now it isn't a fit place to worship me. And they led Judah into sin by building places to worship Baal in Hinnom Valley, where they also sacrificed their sons and daughters to the god Molech. I have never even thought of telling them to commit such disgusting sins. Jeremiah, what you said is true. The people of Jerusalem are suffering from hunger and disease, and so the king of Babylonia will be able to capture Jerusalem. I am angry at the people of Jerusalem, and I will scatter them in foreign countries. But someday I will bring them back here and let them live in safety. They will be my people, and I will be their God. I will make their thoughts and desires pure. Then they will realize that, for their own good and the good of their children, they must worship only me. They will even be afraid to turn away from me. I will make an agreement with them that will never end, and I won't ever stop doing good things for them. With all my heart I promise that they will be planted in this land once again. Even though I have brought disaster on the people, I will someday do all these good things for them. Jeremiah, when you bought the field, you showed that fields will someday be bought and sold again. You say that this land has been conquered by the Babylonians and has become a desert emptied of people and animals. But someday people will again spend their silver to buy fields everywhere, in the territory of Benjamin, the region around Jerusalem and the towns of Judah, and in the hill country, the foothills to the west and the southern desert. Buyers and sellers and witnesses will sign and seal the bills of sale for the fields. It will happen because I will give this land back to my people. I, the Lord, have spoken.
Jeremiah chapter 33.
I was still being held prisoner in the courtyard of the palace guards when the Lord told me,
I am the Lord, and I created the whole world. Ask me, and I will tell you things that you don't know and can't find out.
Many of the houses in Jerusalem and some of the buildings at the royal palace have been torn down to be used in repairing the walls to keep out the Babylonian attackers. Now there are empty spaces where the buildings once stood. But I am furious, and these spaces will be filled with the bodies of the people I kill. The people of Jerusalem will cry out to me for help, but they are evil, and I will ignore their prayers. Then someday I will heal this place and my people as well, and let them enjoy unending peace. I will give this land to Israel and Judah once again, and I will make them as strong as they were before. They sinned and rebelled against me, but I will forgive them and take away their guilt. When that happens, all nations on earth will see the good things I have done for Jerusalem, and how I have given it complete peace. The nations will celebrate and praise and honor me, but they will also tremble with fear.
Jeremiah, you say that this land is a desert without people or animals, and for now you are right. The towns of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem are deserted, and people and animals are nowhere to be seen. But someday you will hear happy voices and the sounds of parties and wedding celebrations. And when people come to my temple to offer sacrifices to thank me, you will hear them say,
"We praise you, Lord all-powerful. You are good to us, and your love never fails."
The land will once again be productive. Now it is empty, without people or animals. But when that time comes, shepherds will take care of their flocks in pastures near every town in the hill country, in the foothills to the west, in the southern desert, in the land of the Benjamin tribe, and around Jerusalem and the towns of Judah. I, the Lord, have spoken.
The Lord said, I made a wonderful promise to Israel and Judah, and the days are coming when I will keep it. I promise that the time will come when I will appoint a king from the family of David, a king who will be honest and rule with justice. In those days Judah will be safe, Jerusalem will have peace, and will be named, "The Lord gives justice." The king of Israel will be one of David's descendants, and there will always be priests from the Levi tribe serving at my altar and offering sacrifices to please me and to give thanks. Then the Lord told me, I, the Lord, have an agreement with day and night, so they always come at the right time. You can't break the agreement I made with them. And you can't break the agreements I have made with David's family and with the priests from the Levi tribe who serve at my altar. A descendant of David will always rule as king of Israel, and there will be more descendants of David and of the priests from the Levi tribe than stars in the sky or grains of sand on the beach. The Lord also said, You've heard foreigners insult my people by saying, The Lord chose Israel and Judah, but now he has rejected them, and they are no longer a nation.
Jeremiah, I will never break my agreement with the day and the night, or let the sky and the earth stop obeying my commands. In the same way, I will never reject the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or break my promise that they will always have a descendant of David as their king. I will be kind to my people Israel, and they will be successful again.
Jeremiah chapter 34.
King Nebuchadnezzar had a large army made up of people from every kingdom in his empire. He and his army were attacking Jerusalem and all the nearby towns when the Lord told me to say to King Zedekiah, I am the Lord, and I am going to let Nebuchadnezzar capture this city and burn it down. You will be taken prisoner and brought to Nebuchadnezzar, and he will speak with you face to face. Then you will be led away to Babylonia. Zedekiah, I promise that you won't die in battle. You will die a peaceful death. People will mourn when you die, and they will light bonfires in your honor, just as they did for your ancestors, the kings who ruled before you. I went to Zedekiah and told him what the Lord had said. Meanwhile, the king of Babylonia was trying to break through the walls of Lachish, Azekah, and Jerusalem, the only 3 towns of Judah that had not been captured. King Zedekiah, his officials, and everyone else in Jerusalem made an agreement to free all Hebrew men and women who were slaves. No Jew would keep another as a slave, and so all the Jewish slaves were given their freedom. But those slave owners changed their minds and forced their former slaves back into slavery. That's when the Lord told me to say to the people, I am the Lord God of Israel, and I made an agreement with your ancestors when I brought them out of Egypt, where they had been slaves. As part of this agreement, you must let a Hebrew slave go free after 6 years of service. Your ancestors did not obey me, but you decided to obey me and do the right thing by setting your Hebrew slaves completely free. You even went to my temple, and in my name you made an agreement to set them free. But you have abused my name, because you broke your agreement and forced your former slaves back into slavery. You have disobeyed me by not giving your slaves their freedom, so I will give you freedom. The freedom to die in battle or from disease or hunger. I will make you disgusting to all other nations on earth. You asked me to be a witness when you made the agreement to set your slaves free. And as part of the ceremony, you cut a calf into 2 parts, then walked between the parts. But you, people of Jerusalem, have broken that agreement, as well as my agreement with Israel. So I will do to you what you did to that calf. I will let your enemies take all of you prisoner, including the leaders of Judah and Jerusalem, the royal officials, the priests, and everyone else who walked between the 2 parts of the calf. These enemies will kill you and leave your bodies lying on the ground as food for birds and wild animals. These enemies are King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia and his army. They have stopped attacking Jerusalem, but they want to kill King Zedekiah and his high officials. So I will command them to return and attack again. This time they will conquer the city and burn it down, and they will capture Zedekiah and his officials. I will also let them destroy the towns of Judah, so that no one can live there any longer.
Jeremiah, chapter 35.
When Jehoiakim was king of Judah, the Lord told me, Go to the Rechabite clan and invite them to meet you in one of the side rooms of the temple. When they arrive, offer them a drink of wine. So I went to Jaazaniah, the leader of the clan, and I invited him and all the men of his clan. I brought them into the temple courtyard and took them upstairs to a room belonging to the prophets, who were followers of Hanan, son of Igdaliah. It was next to a room belonging to some of the officials, and that room was over the one belonging to Maaseiah, a priest who was one of the high officials in the temple. I set out some large bowls full of wine together with some cups, and then I said to the Rechabites, Have some wine. But they answered,
No. The ancestor of our clan, Jonadab, son of Rechab, made a rule that we must obey. He said, Don't ever drink wine, or build houses, or plant crops and vineyards. Instead, you must always live in tents and move from place to place. If you obey this command, you will live a long time. Our clan has always obeyed Jonadab's command. To this very day, we and our wives and sons and daughters don't drink wine, or build houses, or plant vineyards or crops. And we have lived in tents, except now we have to live inside Jerusalem because Nebuchadnezzar has taken over the countryside with his army from Babylonia and Syria.
Then the Lord told me to say to the people of Judah and Jerusalem, I, the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel, want you to learn a lesson from the Rechabite clan. Their ancestor Jonadab told his descendants never to drink wine, and to this very day they have obeyed him. But I have spoken to you over and over, and you haven't obeyed me. You refused to listen to my prophets who kept telling you,
Stop doing evil and worshipping other gods. Start obeying the Lord, and he will let you live in this land he gave your ancestors.
The Rechabites have obeyed the command of their ancestor Jonadab, but you have not obeyed me, your God. I am the Lord all-powerful, and I warned you about the terrible things that would happen to you if you did not listen to me. You have ignored me, so now disaster will strike you. I, the Lord, have spoken." Then the Lord told me to say to the Rechabite clan, "I am the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel. You have obeyed your ancestor Jonadab, so I promise that your clan will be my servants and will never die out."
Jeremiah chapter 36.
During the 4th year that Jehoiakim son of Josiah was king of Judah, the Lord said to me,
Jeremiah, since the time Josiah was king, I have been speaking to you about Israel, Judah, and the other nations. Now, get a scroll and write down everything I have told you. Then read it to the people of Judah. Maybe they will stop sinning when they hear what terrible things I plan for them. And if they turn to me, I will forgive them.
I sent for Baruch son of Neriah and asked him to help me. I repeated everything the Lord had told me, and Baruch wrote it all down on a scroll. Then I said, "Baruch, the officials refused to let me go into the Lord's temple, so you must go instead. Wait for the next holy day when the people of Judah come to the temple to pray and to go without eating. Then take this scroll to the temple and read it aloud. The Lord is furious, and if the people hear how he is going to punish them, maybe they will ask to be forgiven." In the 9th month of the 5th year that Jehoiakim was king, the leaders set a day when everyone who lived in Jerusalem or who was visiting here had to pray and go without eating. So Baruch took the scroll to the upper courtyard of the temple. He went over to the side of the courtyard and stood in a covered area near New Gate, where he read the scroll aloud. This covered area belonged to Gemariah, one of the king's highest officials. Gemariah's son Micaiah was there and heard Baruch read what the Lord had said. When Baruch finished reading, Micaiah went down to the palace. His father Gemariah was in the officials' room meeting with the rest of the king's officials, including Elishama, Delaiah, Elnathan, and Zedekiah. Micaiah told them what he had heard Baruch reading to the people. Then the officials sent Jehudi and Shelemiah to tell Baruch,
"Bring us that scroll."
When Baruch arrived with the scroll, the officials said,
"Please sit down and read it to us."
Which he did. After they heard what was written on the scroll, they were worried and said to each other,
"The king needs to hear this."
Turning to Baruch, they asked,
"Did someone tell you what to write on the scroll?"
"Yes, Jeremiah did,"
Baruch replied.
"I wrote down just what he told me."
The officials said,
"You and Jeremiah must go into hiding and don't tell anyone where you are."
The officials put the scroll in Elishama's room and went to see the king, who was in one of the rooms where he lived and worked during the winter. It was the 9th month of the year, so there was a fire burning in the fireplace, and the king was sitting nearby. After the officials told the king about the scroll, he sent Jehudi to get it. Then Jehudi started reading the scroll to the king and his officials. But every time Jehudi finished reading 3 or 4 columns, the king would tell him to cut them off with his penknife and throw them in the fire. Elnathan, Delaiah, and Gemariah begged the king not to burn the scroll, but he ignored them, and soon there was nothing left of it. The king and his servants listened to what was written on the scroll, but they were not afraid, and they did not tear their clothes in sorrow. The king told his son Jerahmeel to take Seraiah and Shelemiah and to go arrest Baruch and me, but the Lord kept them from finding us. I had told Baruch what to write on that first scroll, but King Jehoiakim had burned it, so the Lord told me to get another scroll and write down everything that had been on the first one. Then he told me to say to King Jehoiakim, Not only did you burn Jeremiah's scroll, you had the nerve to ask why he had written that the king of Babylonia would attack and ruin the land, killing all the people and even the animals. So I, the Lord, promise that you will be killed and your body thrown out on the ground. The sun will beat down on it during the day and the frost will settle on it at night, and none of your descendants will ever be king of Judah. You, your children, and your servants are evil, and I will punish all of you. I warned you and the people of Judah and Jerusalem that I would bring disaster, but none of you have listened, so now you are doomed. After the Lord finished speaking to me, I got another scroll and gave it to Baruch. Then I told him what to write, so this second scroll would contain even more than was on the scroll Jehoiakim had burned.
Jeremiah, chapter 37.
King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia had removed Jehoiakim, son of Jehoiakim, from being the king of Judah, and had made Josiah's son Zedekiah king instead. But Zedekiah, his officials, and everyone else in Judah ignored everything the Lord had told me. Later, the Babylonian army attacked Jerusalem, but they left after learning that the Egyptian army was headed in this direction. One day, Zedekiah sent Jehukal and the priest Zephaniah to talk with me. At that time, I was free to go wherever I wanted because I had not yet been put in prison. Jehukal and Zephaniah said,
"Jeremiah, please pray to the Lord our God for us."
Then the Lord told me to send them back to Zedekiah with this message. Zedekiah, you wanted Jeremiah to ask me, the Lord God of Israel, what is going to happen. So I will tell you. The king of Egypt and his army came to your rescue, but soon they will go back to Egypt. Then the Babylonians will return and attack Jerusalem, and this time they will capture the city and set it on fire. Don't fool yourselves into thinking that the Babylonians will leave as they did before. Even if you could defeat their entire army, their wounded survivors would still be able to leave their tents and set Jerusalem on fire. The Babylonian army had left because the Egyptian army was on its way to help us. So I decided to leave Jerusalem and go to the territory of the Benjamin tribe to claim my share of my family's land. I was leaving Jerusalem through Benjamin Gate when I was stopped by Irijah, the officer in charge of the soldiers at the gate. He said,
"Jeremiah, you're under arrest for trying to join the Babylonians."
"I'm not trying to join them," I answered. But Irijah wouldn't listen, and he took me to the king's officials. They were angry and ordered the soldiers to beat me. Then I was taken to the house that belonged to Jonathan, one of the king's officials. It had been turned into a prison, and I was kept in a basement room. After I had spent a long time there, King Zedekiah secretly had me brought to his palace, where he asked,
"Is there any message for us from the Lord?"
"Yes, there is, Your Majesty," I replied. "The Lord is going to let the king of Babylonia capture you." Then I continued, "Your Majesty, why have you put me in prison? Have I committed a crime against you or your officials or the nation? Have you locked up the prophets who lied to you and said that the king of Babylonia would never attack Jerusalem? Please don't send me back to that prison at Jonathan's house. If you do, I will die." King Zedekiah had me taken to the prison cells in the courtyard of the palace guards. He told the soldiers to give me a loaf of bread from one of the bakeries every day until the city ran out of grain.
Jeremiah, chapter 38.
One day Shephatiah, Gedaliah, Jehukal, and Pashur heard me tell the people of Judah that the Lord had said, "If you stay here in Jerusalem, you will die in battle or from disease or hunger, and the Babylonian army will capture the city anyway. But if you surrender to the Babylonians, they will let you live." So the four of them went to the king and said,
"You should put Jeremiah to death, because he's making the soldiers and everyone else lose hope. He isn't trying to help our people, he's trying to harm them."
Zedekiah replied,
"Do what you want with him. I can't stop you."
Then they took me back to the courtyard of the palace guards and let me down with ropes into the well that belonged to Hilkiah, the king's son. There was no water in the well, and I sank down in the mud. Ebed-Melech from Ethiopia was an official at the palace, and he heard what they had done to me. So he went to speak with King Zedekiah, who was holding court at Benjamin Gate. Ebed-Melech said,
"Your Majesty, Jeremiah is a prophet, and those men were wrong to throw him into a well. And when Jerusalem runs out of food, Jeremiah will starve to death down there."
Zedekiah answered,
"Take 30 of my soldiers and pull Jeremiah out before he dies."
Ebed-Melech and the soldiers went to the palace and got some rags from the room under the treasury. He used ropes to lower them into the well. Then he said,
"Put these rags under your arms so the ropes won't hurt you."
After I did, the men pulled me out, and from then on I was kept in the courtyard of the palace guards. King Zedekiah had me brought to his private entrance to the temple, and he said,
"I'm going to ask you something, and I want to know the truth."
"Why?" I replied. "You won't listen, and you might even have me killed." He said,
"I swear in the name of the living Lord our Creator that I won't have you killed. No one else can hear what we say, and I won't let anyone kill you."
Then I told him that the Lord had said, "Zedekiah, I am the Lord God all-powerful, the God of Israel. I promise that if you surrender to King Nebuchadnezzar's officers, you and your family won't be killed, and Jerusalem won't be burned down. But if you don't surrender, I will let the Babylonian army capture Jerusalem and burn it down, and you will be taken prisoner." Zedekiah answered,
"I can't surrender to the Babylonians. I'm too afraid of the Jews that have already joined them. The Babylonians might hand me over to those Jews, and they would torture me."
I said, "If you will just obey the Lord, the Babylonians won't hand you over to those Jews. You will be allowed to live, and all will go well for you. But the Lord has shown me that if you refuse to obey, then the women of your palace will be taken prisoner by Nebuchadnezzar's officials, and those women will say to you,
'Friends you trusted led you astray. Now you're trapped in mud, and those friends you trusted have all turned away.'
The Babylonian army will take your wives and children captive. You will be taken as prisoner to the king of Babylonia, and Jerusalem will be burned down." Zedekiah said,
"Jeremiah, if you tell anyone what we have talked about, you might lose your life. And I'm sure that if my officials hear about our meeting, they will ask you what we said to each other. They might even threaten to kill you if you don't tell them. So if they question you, tell them you were begging me not to send you back to the prison at Jonathan's house, because going back there would kill you."
The officials did come and question me about my meeting with the king, and I told them exactly what he had ordered me to say. They never spoke to me about the meeting again, since no one had heard us talking. I was held in the courtyard of the palace guards until the day Jerusalem was captured.
Jeremiah, chapter 39.
In the 10th month of the 9th year that Zedekiah was king of Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonian army began their attack on Jerusalem. They kept the city surrounded for a year and a half. Then, on the 9th day of the 4th month of the 11th year that Zedekiah was king, they broke through the city walls. After Jerusalem was captured, Nebuchadnezzar's highest officials, including Nebo-Sarsekim and Nergal-Sharezer from Simagir, took their places at Middle Gate to show they were in control of the city. When King Zedekiah and his troops saw that Jerusalem had been captured, they tried to escape from the city that same night. They went to the king's garden, where they slipped through the gate between the two city walls and headed toward the Jordan River Valley. But the Babylonian troops caught up with them near Jericho. They arrested Zedekiah and took him to the town of Riblah in the land of Hamath, where Nebuchadnezzar put him on trial, then found him guilty and gave orders for him to be punished. Zedekiah's sons were killed there in front of him, and so were the leaders of Judah's ruling families. His eyes were poked out, and he was put in chains so he could be dragged off to Babylonia. Meanwhile, the Babylonian army had burned the houses in Jerusalem, including the royal palace, and they had broken down the city walls. Nebuzaradan, the Babylonian officer in charge of the guards, led away everyone from the city as prisoners, even those who had deserted to Nebuchadnezzar. Only the poorest people who owned no land were left behind in Judah, and Nebuzaradan gave them fields and vineyards. Nebuchadnezzar had given the following orders to Nebuzaradan.
Find Jeremiah and keep him safe. Take good care of him and do whatever he asks.
Nebuzaradan, Nebuchadnezzar, Nergal-Sharezer, and the other officers of King Nebuchadnezzar sent some of their troops to bring me from the courtyard of the royal palace guards. They put me in the care of Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, and told him to take me to my home. And so I was allowed to stay with the people who remained in Judah. While I was a prisoner in the courtyard of the palace guard, the Lord told me to say to Ebed-Melech from Ethiopia, I am the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel. I warned everyone that I would bring disaster, not prosperity, to this city. Now, very soon I will do what I said, and you will see it happen. But because you trusted me, I will protect you from the officials of Judah, and when Judah is struck by disaster, I will rescue you and keep you alive. I, the Lord, have spoken.
Jeremiah chapter 40.
I was led away in chains, along with the people of Judah and Jerusalem who were being taken to Babylonia. Nebuzaradan was the officer in charge of the guard, and while we were stopped at Ramah, the Lord had him set me free. Nebuzaradan said,
Jeremiah, the Lord your God warned your people that he would bring disaster on this land. But they continued to rebel against him, and now he has punished them just as he threatened. Today I am taking the chains off your wrists and setting you free. If you want to, you can come with me to Babylonia, and I will see that you are taken care of. Or if you decide to stay here, you can go wherever you wish. King Nebuchadnezzar has chosen Gedaliah to rule Judah. You could live near Gedaliah, and he will provide for you, or you can live anywhere else you want.
Nebuzaradan gave me a supply of food, then let me leave. I decided to stay with the people of Judah, and I went to live near Gedaliah in Mizpah. Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, together with Johanan and Jonathan, the two sons of Kareah, had been officers in Judah's army. And so had Seraiah, son of Tanhumeth, the sons of Ephi the Netophathite, and Jezaniah from Maacah. They and their troops had been stationed outside Jerusalem and had not been captured. They heard that Gedaliah had been chosen to rule Judah, and that the poorest men, women and children had not been taken away to Babylonia. So they went to Mizpah and met with their new ruler. Gedaliah told them,
There's no need to be afraid of the Babylonians. Everything will be fine if we live peacefully and obey King Nebuchadnezzar. I will stay here at Mizpah and meet with the Babylonian officials on each of their visits. But you must go back to your towns and bring in the harvest. Then store the wine, olive oil, and dried fruit.
Earlier, when the Babylonians had invaded Judah, many of the Jews escaped to Moab, Ammon, Edom, and several other countries. But these Jews heard that the king of Babylonia had appointed Gedaliah as ruler of Judah, and that only a few people were left there. So the Jews in these other countries came back to Judah and helped with the grape and fruit harvest, which was especially large that year. One day Johanan got together with some of the other men who had been army officers, and they came to Mizpah and met with Gedaliah. They said,
Gedaliah, we came to warn you that King Baalas of Ammon hired Ishmael to murder you.
Gedaliah refused to believe them, so Johanan went to Gedaliah privately and said,
Let me kill Ishmael. No one will find out who did it. There are only a few people left in Judah, but they're depending on you. And if you're murdered, they will be scattered or killed.
Gedaliah answered,
Don't kill Ishmael. What you said about him can't be true.
Jeremiah chapter 41.
But in the 7th month, Ishmael came to Mizpah with 10 of his soldiers. He had been one of the king's officials and was a member of the royal family. Ishmael and his men were invited to eat with Gedaliah. During the meal, Ishmael and his soldiers killed Gedaliah, the man chosen as ruler of Judah by the king of Babylonia. Then they killed the Jews who were with Gedaliah, and they also killed the Babylonian soldiers who were there. The next day the murders had still not been discovered when 80 men came down the road toward Mizpah from the towns of Shechem, Shiloh and Samaria. They were on their way to the temple to offer gifts of grain and incense to the Lord. They had shaved off their beards, torn their clothes and cut themselves because they were mourning. Ishmael went out the town gate to meet them. He pretended to be weeping, and he asked them to come into Mizpah to meet with Gedaliah, the ruler of Judah. But after they were inside the town, Ishmael had his soldiers kill them and throw their bodies into a well. He let 10 of the men live because they offered to give him supplies of wheat, barley, olive oil and honey they had hidden in a field. The well that he filled with bodies had been dug by King Asa of Judah to store rainwater, because he was afraid that King Baasha of Israel might surround Mizpah and keep the people from getting to their water supply. Nebuzaradan, King Nebuchadnezzar's officer in charge of the guard, had left King Zedekiah's daughters and many other people at Mizpah, and he had put Gedaliah in charge of them. But now Ishmael took them all prisoner and led them toward Ammon on the other side of the Jordan River. Johanan and the other army officers heard what Ishmael had done, so they and their troops chased Ishmael and caught up with him at the large pit at Gibeon. When Ishmael's prisoners saw Johanan and the officers, they were happy and turned round and ran towards Johanan. But Ishmael and 8 of his men escaped and went to Ammon. Johanan and the officers had rescued the women, children and royal officials that Ishmael had taken prisoner after killing Gedaliah. Johanan led the people from Gibeon toward Egypt. They wanted to go there because they were afraid of what the Babylonians would do when they found out that Ishmael had killed Gedaliah, the ruler appointed by King Nebuchadnezzar. On the way to Egypt, we stopped at the town of Geruth-Kimham near Bethlehem.
Jeremiah chapter 42.
Johanan, Jezaniah, the other army officers and everyone else in the group came to me and said,
"Please pray to the Lord your God for us. Judah used to have many people, but as you can see, only a few of us are left. Ask the Lord to tell us where he wants us to go and what he wants us to do."
"All right," I answered. "I will pray to the Lord your God, and I will tell you everything he says." They answered,
"The Lord himself will be our witness that we promise to do whatever he says, even if it isn't what we want to do. We will obey the Lord so that all will go well for us."
10 days later, the Lord gave me an answer for Johanan, the officers and the other people. So I called them together and told them that the Lord God of Israel had said, "You asked Jeremiah to pray and find out what you should do. I am sorry that I had to punish you, and so I now tell you to stay here in Judah, where I will plant you and build you up, instead of tearing you down and uprooting you. Don't be afraid of the king of Babylonia. I will protect you from him, and I will even force him to have mercy on you and give back your farms. But you might keep on saying, 'We won't stay here in Judah, and we won't obey the Lord our God. We are going to Egypt, where there is plenty of food and no danger of war.' People of Judah, you survived when the Babylonian army attacked. Now you are planning to move to Egypt, and if you do go, this is what will happen. You are afraid of war, starvation, and disease here in Judah, but they will follow you to Egypt and kill you there. None of you will survive the disasters I will send. I, the Lord, was angry with the people of Jerusalem and punished them. And if you go to Egypt, I will be angry and punish you the same way. You will never again see your homeland. People will be horrified at what I do to you, and they will use the name of your city as a curse word. I told the people, you escaped the disaster that struck Judah, but now the Lord warns you to stay away from Egypt. You asked me to pray and find out what the Lord our God wants you to do, and you promised to obey him. But that was a terrible mistake, because now that I have given you the Lord's answer, you refuse to obey him, and so you will die in Egypt from war, hunger, and disease.
Jeremiah chapter 43.
I told the people everything the Lord had told me. But Azariah, Johanan, and some other arrogant men said to me,
You're lying. The Lord didn't tell you to say that we shouldn't go to Egypt. Barak, son of Neriah, must have told you to say that. He wants the Babylonians to capture us, so they can take us away to Babylonia or even kill us.
Johanan, the other army officers, and everyone else refused to stay in Judah in spite of the Lord's command. So Johanan and the officers led us away toward Egypt. The group that left Judah included those who had been scattered in other countries and who had then come back to live in Judah. Baruch and I and others in the group had been staying with Gedaliah because Nebuzaradan, the Babylonian officer in charge of the guard, had ordered him to take care of the king's daughters and quite a few men, women and children. The people disobeyed the Lord and went to Egypt. The group had settled in Tahpanhes when the Lord told me, Jeremiah, carry some large stones to the entrance of the government building in Tahpanhes. Bury the stones underneath the brick pavement and be sure the Jews are watching. Then tell them that I, the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel, have sent for my servant Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia. I will bring him here and have him set up his throne and his royal tent over these stones that I told you to bury. He will attack Egypt and kill many of its people. Others will die of disease or be dragged away as prisoners. I will have him set Egypt's temples on fire, and he will either burn or carry off their idols. He will destroy the sacred monuments at the temple of the sun god. Then Nebuchadnezzar will pick the land clean, just like a shepherd picking the lice off his clothes, and he will return safely home.
Jeremiah chapter 44.
The Lord told me to speak with the Jews who were living in the towns of Migdal, Tahpanhes, and Memphis in northern Egypt, and also to those living in southern Egypt. He told me to tell them, I am the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel. You saw how I destroyed Jerusalem and the towns of Judah. They lie empty and in ruins today because the people of Judah made me angry by worshipping gods that had never helped them or their ancestors. Time after time I sent my servants the prophets to tell the people of Judah how much I hated their disgusting sins. The prophets warned them to stop sinning, but they refused to listen and would not stop worshipping other gods. Finally, my anger struck like a raging flood, and today Jerusalem and the towns of Judah are nothing but empty ruins. Why do you now insist on heading for another disaster? A disaster that will destroy not only you, but also your children and babies. You have made me angry by worshipping idols and burning incense to other gods after you came here to Egypt. You will die such a disgusting death that other nations will use the name of Judah as a curse word. When you were living in Jerusalem and Judah, you followed the example of your ancestors in doing evil things, just like your kings and queens. Even now your pride keeps you from respecting me and obeying the laws and teachings I gave you and your ancestors. I, the Lord all-powerful, have decided to wipe you out with disasters. There were only a few of you left in Judah, and you decided to go to Egypt. But you will die such horrible deaths in war or from starvation that people of other countries will use the name of Judah as a curse word. I punished Jerusalem with war, hunger, and disease, and that's how I will punish you. None of you will survive. You may hope to return to Judah someday, but only a very few of you will escape death and be able to go back. A large number of Jews from both northern and southern Egypt listened to me as I told them what the Lord had said. Most of the men in the crowd knew that their wives often burned incense to other gods, so they and their wives shouted,
Jeremiah, what do we care if you speak in the Lord's name? We refuse to listen. We have promised to worship the goddess Astarte, the Queen of Heaven, and that is exactly what we are going to do. We will burn incense and offer sacrifices of wine to her, just as we, our ancestors, our kings, and our leaders did when we lived in Jerusalem and the other towns of Judah. We had plenty of food back then. We were well off, and nothing bad ever happened to us. But since the time we stopped burning incense and offering wine sacrifices to her, we have been dying from war and hunger.
Then the women said,
When we lived in Judah, we worshipped the Queen of Heaven and offered sacrifices of wine and special loaves of bread shaped like her. Our husbands knew what we were doing, and they approved of it.
Then I told the crowd, Don't you think the Lord knew that you and your ancestors, your leaders and kings and the rest of the people were burning incense to other gods in Jerusalem and everywhere else in Judah? And when he could no longer put up with your disgusting sins, he placed a curse on your land and turned it into a desert as it is today. This disaster happened because you worshipped other gods and rebelled against the Lord by refusing to obey him or follow his laws and teachings. Then I told the men and their wives that the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel, had said, Here in Egypt, you still keep your promises to burn incense and offer sacrifices of wine to the so-called Queen of Heaven. Keep these promises, but let me tell you what will happen. As surely as I am the Lord God, I swear that I will never again accept any promises you make in my name. Instead of watching over you, I will watch for chances to harm you. Some of you will die in war and others will starve to death. Only a few will escape and return to Judah. Then everyone who went to live in Egypt will know that when I say something will happen, it will, no matter what you say. And here is how you will know that I will keep my threats to punish you in Egypt. I will hand over King Hophra of Egypt to those who want to kill him, just as I handed Zedekiah over to Nebuchadnezzar, who wanted to kill him.
Jeremiah chapter 45.
In the 4th year that Jehoiakim was king of Judah, Baruch wrote down everything I had told him. Then, later, the Lord God of Israel told me to say to Baruch, You are moaning and blaming me, the Lord, for your troubles and sorrow, and for being so tired that you can't even rest. But all over the earth I am tearing down what I built and pulling up what I planted. I am bringing disaster everywhere, so don't even think about making any big plans for yourself. However, I promise that wherever you go, I will at least protect you from death. I, the Lord, have spoken.
Jeremiah chapter 46.
The Lord often told me what to say about the different nations of the world. In the 4th year that Jehoiakim was king of Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia defeated King Necho of Egypt in a battle at the city of Carchemish, near the Euphrates River. And here is what the Lord told me to say about the Egyptian army. It's time to go into battle, so grab your shields, saddle your horses and polish your spears. Put on your helmets and armor, then take your positions. I can see the battle now. You are defeated and running away, never once looking back. Terror is all around. You are strong and run fast, but you can't escape. You fall in battle near the Euphrates River. What nation is this that rises like the Nile River, overflowing its banks? It is Egypt, rising with a roar like a raging river and saying, I'll flood the earth, destroying cities and killing everyone in them. Go ahead, Egypt. Tell your chariots and cavalry to attack and fight hard. Order your troops to march out, with Ethiopians and Libyans carrying shields, and the Lydians armed with bows and arrows. But the Lord all-powerful will win this battle and take revenge on his enemies. His sword will eat them and drink their blood until it is full. They will be killed in the north near the Euphrates River as a sacrifice to the Lord. Egypt, no medicine can heal you, not even the soothing lotion from Gilead. All nations have heard you weep. You are disgraced, and they know it. Your troops fall to the ground, stumbling over each other. When King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia was on his way to attack Egypt, the Lord sent me with a warning for every Egyptian town, but especially for Migdol, Memphis, and Tahpanhes. He said to tell them, prepare to defend yourselves. Everywhere in your nation people are dying in war. I have struck down your mighty god Apis and chased him away. Your soldiers stumble over each other and say, get up, the enemy will kill us unless we can escape to our own land. Give the king of Egypt this new name. Talks big, does nothing. Egypt, I am the true king, the Lord all-powerful, and as surely as I live, those enemies who attack will tower over you, like Mount Tabor among the hills, or Mount Carmel by the sea. You will be led away captive, so pack a few things to bring with you. Your capital, Memphis, will lie empty and in ruins. An enemy from the north will attack you, beautiful Egypt, like a fly biting a cow. The foreign soldiers you hired will turn and run, but they are doomed like well-fed calves being led to the butcher. The enemy army will go forward like a swarm of locusts. Your troops will feel helpless like a snake in a forest when men with axes start chopping down trees. It can only hiss and try to escape. Your people will be disgraced and captured by the enemy from the north. I am the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel. Soon I will punish the god Ammon of Thebes and the other Egyptian gods, the Egyptian kings, the people of Egypt, and everyone who trusts in the Egyptian power. I will hand them over to King Nebuchadnezzar and his army. But I also promise that Egypt will someday have people living here again, just as it had before. I, the Lord, have spoken. The Lord said, Israel, don't be afraid. Someday I will bring you home from foreign lands. You and your descendants will live in peace and safety with nothing to fear. So don't be afraid, even though now you deserve to be punished and have been scattered among other nations. But when I destroy them, I will protect you. I, the Lord, have spoken.
Jeremiah chapter 47.
Before the king of Egypt attacked the town of Gaza, the Lord told me to say to the Philistines, I, the Lord, tell you that your land will be flooded with an army from the north. It will destroy your towns and sweep you away moaning and screaming. When you hear the thunder of horses and chariots, your courage will vanish, and parents will abandon their own children. You refugees from Crete, your time has now come, and I will destroy you. None of you will be left to help the cities of Tyre and Sidon. The Anakim who survive in Gaza and Ashkelon will mourn for you by shaving their heads and sitting in silence. You ask, how long will I continue to attack you with my sword? Then you tell me to put it away and leave you alone. But how can my sword rest when I have commanded it to attack Ashkelon and the seacoast?
Jeremiah chapter 48.
The Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel, told me to say to the nation of Moab, The town of Nebo is doomed. Kiriathaim will be captured and disgraced, and even its fortress will be left in ruins. No one honors you, Moab. In Heshbon, enemies make plans to end your life. My sword will leave only silence in your town named Quiet. The people of Horonaim will cry for help as their town is attacked and destroyed. Moab will be shattered. Your children will sob and cry on their way up to the town of Luhith. On the road to Horonaim they will tell of disasters. Run for your lives. Head into the desert like a wild donkey. You thought you could be saved by your power and wealth, but you will be captured along with your god Chemosh, his priests and officials. Not one of your towns will escape destruction. I have told your enemies, wipe out the valley and the flatlands of Moab. Spread salt on the ground to kill the crops. Leave its towns in ruins with no one living there. I want you to kill the Moabites, and if you let them escape, I will put a curse on you. Moab, you are like wine left to settle undisturbed, never poured from jar to jar, and so your nation continues to prosper and improve. But now I will send enemies to pour out the wine and smash the jars. Then you will be ashamed because your god Chemosh cannot save you, just as Bethel could not help the Israelites. You claim that your soldiers are strong and brave, but I am the Lord, the all-powerful King, and I promise that enemies will overpower your towns. Even your best warriors will die in the battle. It won't be long now. Disaster will hit Moab. I will order the nearby nations to mourn for you and say, isn't it sad? Moab ruled others, but now its glorious power has been shattered. People in the town of Dibon, you will be honored no more, so have a seat in the dust. Your walls will be torn down when the enemies attack. You people of Aroah, go wait beside the road, and when refugees run by, ask them what happened. They will answer, Moab has been defeated. Weep with us in shame. Tell everyone at the Arnon River that Moab is destroyed. I will punish every town that belongs to Moab, but especially Holon, Jaza, Mephaeth, Dibon, Nebo, Beth Diblathaim, Kiriathaim, Beth Gamul, Beth Meon, Kerioth, and Bozrah. My decision is final. Your army will be crushed and your power broken. People of Moab, you claim to be stronger than I am. Now I will tell other nations to make you drunk and to laugh while you collapse in your own vomit. You made fun of my people and treated them like criminals caught in the act. Now you must leave your towns and live like doves in the shelter of cliffs and canyons. I know about your pride and how you strut and boast, but I also know bragging will never save you, so I will cry and mourn for Moab and its town of Kirhires. People of Sipma, you are like a vineyard heavy with grapes and with branches reaching north to the town of Jazer and west to the Dead Sea. But you have been destroyed, and so I will weep for you as the people of Jazer weep for the vineyards. Harvest celebrations are gone from the orchards and farms of Moab. There are no happy shouts from people making wine. Weeping from Heshbon can be heard as far as Elealeh and Jahaz. Cries from Zoar are heard in Horonaim and Eglah Shelishia, and Nimrim Creek has run dry. I will get rid of anyone who burns incense to the gods of Moab or offers sacrifices at their shrines. I, the Lord, have spoken. In my heart I moan for Moab, like a funeral song played on a flute. I mourn for the people of the town of Kirhires, because their wealth is gone. The people of Moab mourn on the rooftops and in the streets. Men cut off their beards, people shave their heads, they make cuts on their hands and wear sackcloth. And it's all because I, the Lord, have shattered Moab like a jar that no one wants. Moab lies broken. Listen to its people cry as they turn away in shame. Other nations are horrified at what happened, but still they laugh. Moab, an enemy swoops down like an eagle, spreading its wings over your land. Your cities and fortresses will be captured and your warriors gripped by fear. You are finished as a nation because you dared oppose me, the Lord. Terror, pits, and traps are waiting for you. If you are terrified and run, you will fall into a pit. And if you crawl out of the pit, you'll get caught in a trap. The time has come for you to be punished. Near the city of Heshbon, where Sihon once ruled, tired refugees stand in shadows cast by the flames of their burning city. Soon the towns on other hilltops where those warlike people live will also go up in smoke. People of Moab, you worshipped Chemosh, your god, but now you are done for, and your children are prisoners in a foreign country. Yet someday I will bring your people back home. I, the Lord, have spoken.
Jeremiah chapter 49.
The Lord has this to say about the nation of Ammon. The people of Israel have plenty of children to inherit their lands. So why have you worshippers of the god Milcom taken over towns and land belonging to the Gad tribe? Someday I will send an army to attack you in Rabbah, your capital city. It will be left in ruins, and the surrounding villages will lie in ashes. You took some of Israel's land, but on that day Israel will take yours. Cry, people of Heshbon, your town will become a pile of rubble. You will turn here and there, but your path will be blocked. Put on sackcloth and mourn, you citizens of Rabbah, because the idol you worship will be taken to a foreign country along with its priests and temple officials. You rebellious Ammonites, trust your wealth and ask who could attack us. But I warn you not to boast when your strength is fading. I, the Lord all-powerful, will send neighboring nations to strike you with terror. You will be scattered with no one to care for your refugees. Yet someday I will bring your people back home. I, the Lord, have spoken. The Lord all-powerful says about Edom, wisdom and common sense have vanished from Teman. I will send disaster to punish you descendants of Esau. So anyone from Dedan had better turn around and run back home. People who harvest grapes leave some for the poor. Thieves who break in at night take only what they want. But I will take everything that belongs to you, people of Edom, and I will uncover every place where you try to hide. Then you will die, and so will your children, relatives, and neighbors. But I can be trusted to care for your orphans and widows. Even those nations that don't deserve to be punished will have to drink from the cup of my anger. So how can you possibly hope to escape? I, the Lord, swear in my own name that your city of Bozrah and all your towns will suffer a horrible fate. They will lie in ruins forever, and people will use the name Bozrah as a curse word. I have sent a messenger to command the nations to prepare for war against you, people of Edom. Your nation will be small, yet hated by other nations. Pride tricks you into thinking that other nations look at you with fear. You live along the cliffs and high in the mountains like the eagles, but I am the Lord, and I will bring you down. People passing by your country will be shocked and horrified to see a disaster as bad as the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and towns nearby. The towns of Edom will be empty. I will attack you like a lion from the forest attacking sheep in a meadow along the Jordan. In a moment, the flock runs and the land is empty. Who will I choose to attack you? I will do it myself. No one can force me to fight or chase me away. Listen to my plans for you, people of Edom. Your children will be dragged off and your country destroyed. The sounds of your destruction will reach the Red Sea and cause the earth to shake. An enemy will swoop down to attack you like an eagle, spreading its wings and circling over Bozrah. Your warriors will be gripped by fear. The Lord says about Damascus, the towns of Hamath and Arpad have heard your bad news. They have lost hope and worries roll over them like ocean waves. You people of Damascus have lost your courage, and in panic you turn to run, gripped by fear and pain. I once was pleased with your famous city, but now I warn you, escape while you still can. Soon even your best soldiers will lie dead in your streets. I, the Lord all-powerful, have spoken. I will set fire to your city walls and burn down the fortresses King Ben-Hadad built. Here is what the Lord says about the Kedar tribe and the desert villages that were conquered by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia. Listen, you people of Kedar and the other tribes of the eastern desert. I have told Nebuchadnezzar to attack and destroy you. His fearsome army will surround you, taking your tents and possessions, your sheep and camels. Run and hide, you people of the desert who live in villages. Nebuchadnezzar has big plans for you. You have no city walls and no neighbors to help, yet you think you're safe. So I told him to attack. Then your camels and large herds will be yours no longer. People of the Arabian desert, disaster will strike you from every side, and you will be scattered everywhere on earth. Only jackals will live where your villages once stood. I, the Lord, have spoken. Not long after Zedekiah became king of Judah, the Lord told me to say, People of Elam, I, the Lord all-powerful, will kill the archers who make your army strong. Enemies will attack from all directions, and you will be led captive to every nation on earth. Their armies will crush and kill you, and you will face the disaster that my anger brings. Your king and his officials will die, and I will rule in their place. I, the Lord, have spoken. But I promise that someday I will bring your people back to their land.
Jeremiah chapter 50.
The Lord told me to say, Announce what will happen and don't leave anything out. Raise the signal flags. Shout so all nations can hear. Babylon will be captured. Marduk, Babylon's god, will be ashamed and terrified and his idols broken. The attack on the Babylonians will come from the north. They and their animals will run, leaving the land empty. The Lord said, People of Israel and Judah, when these things happen you will weep, and together you will return to your land and worship me, the Lord your God. You will ask the way to Zion, and then come and join with me in making an agreement you won't break or forget. My people, you are lost sheep, abandoned by their shepherds in the mountains. You don't even remember your resting place. I am your true pasture land, the one who gave hope to your ancestors. But you abandoned me, so when your enemies found you, they felt no guilt as they gobbled you down. Escape from Babylonia, my people. Get out of that country. Don't wait for anyone else. In the north I am bringing great nations together. They will attack Babylon and capture it. The arrows they shoot are like the best soldiers, always finding their target. Babylonia will be conquered, and its enemies will carry off everything they want. People of Babylonia, you are glad to rob my people. You had a good time, making more noise than horses and jumping around like calves threshing grain. The city of Babylon was like a mother to you, but it will be disgraced and become nothing but a barren desert. My anger will destroy Babylon, and no one will live there. Everyone who passes by will be shocked to see what has happened. Babylon has rebelled against me. Archers, take your places. Shoot all your arrows at Babylon. Attack from every side. Babylon surrenders. The enemy tears down its walls and towers. I am taking my revenge by doing to Babylon what it did to other cities. There is no one in Babylonia to plant or harvest crops. Even foreigners who lived there have left for their homelands, afraid of the enemy armies. Israel is a flock of sheep scattered by hungry lions. The king of Assyria first gobbled Israel down. Then Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylonia, crunched on Israel's bones. I, the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel, punished the king of Assyria, and I will also punish the king of Babylonia. But I will bring Israel back to its own land. The people will be like sheep eating their fill on Mount Carmel and in Bashan, in the hill country of Ephraim and in Gilead. I will rescue a few people from Israel and Judah. I will forgive them so completely that their sin and guilt will disappear, never to be found. The Lord said, I have told the enemies of Babylonia, attack the people of Merathaim and Pekod. Kill them all, destroy their possessions. Sounds of war and the noise of destruction can be heard. Babylonia was a hammer, pounding every country, but now it lies broken. What a shock to the nations of the world. Babylonia challenged me, the Lord God all-powerful. But that nation doesn't know it is caught in a trap that I set. I've brought out my weapons, and with them I will put a curse on Babylonia. Come from far away, you enemies of Babylon. Pile up the grain from its storehouses and destroy it completely along with everything else. Kill the soldiers of Babylonia, because the time has come for them to be punished. The Babylonian army destroyed my temple, but soon I will take revenge. Then refugees from Babylon will tell about it in Zion. Attack Babylon, enemy archers! Set up camp around the city and don't let anyone escape. It challenged me, the holy God, so do to it what it did to other cities. People of Babylon, I, the Lord, promise that even your best soldiers will lie dead in the streets. Babylon, you should be named the Proud One. But the time has come when I, the Lord all-powerful, will punish you. You are proud, but you will stumble and fall, and no one will help you up. I will set your villages on fire, and everything around you will go up in flames. You, Babylonians, were cruel to Israel and Judah. You took them captive, and now you refuse to let them go. But I, the Lord all-powerful, will rescue and protect them. I will bring peace to their land and trouble to yours. I have declared war on you, your officials and advisers. This war will prove that your prophets are liars and fools, and it will frighten your warriors. Then your chariot horses and the foreigners in your army will refuse to go into battle, and the enemy will carry away everything you treasure. Your rivers and canals will dry up. All of this will happen because your land is full of idols, and they have made fools of you. Never again will people live in your land, only desert animals, jackals, and unclean birds. I destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah and the nearby towns, and I will destroy Babylon just as completely. No one will live there again. Far to the north, the nation and its allies have been awakened. They are powerful and ready for war. Bows and arrows and swords are in their hands. The soldiers are cruel and show no pity. The hoofbeats of their horses echo like ocean waves crashing against the shore. The army has lined up for battle and is coming to attack you, people of Babylonia. Ever since your king heard about this army, he has been weak with fear. He twists and turns in pain like a woman giving birth. Babylonia, I will attack you like a lion from the forest, attacking sheep in a meadow along the Jordan. In a moment, the flock runs and the land is empty. Who will I choose to attack you? I will do it myself. No one can force me to fight or chase me away. Listen to my plans for you, people of Babylonia. Your children will be dragged off and your country destroyed. The sounds of your destruction will be heard among the nations and the earth will shake.
Jeremiah, chapter 51.
I, the Lord, am sending a wind to destroy the people of Babylonia, and Babylon its capital. Foreign soldiers will come from every direction, and when the disaster is over, Babylonia will be empty and worthless. I will tell these soldiers, attack quickly before the Babylonians can string their bows or put on their armor. Kill their best soldiers and destroy their army. Their troops will fall wounded in the streets of Babylon. Everyone in Israel and Judah is guilty, but I, the Lord all-powerful, their holy God, have not abandoned them. Get out of Babylon, run for your lives. If you stay, you will be killed when I take revenge on the city and punish it for its sins. Babylon was my golden cup, filled with the wine of my anger. The nations of the world got drunk on this wine and went insane. But suddenly Babylon will fall and be destroyed. I, the Lord, told the foreigners who lived there, weep for the city. Get medicine for its wounds. Maybe they will heal. The foreigners answered,
We have already tried to treat Babylon's wounds, but they would not heal. Come on, let's all go home to our own countries. Nothing is left in Babylonia. Everything is destroyed.
The people of Israel said,
Tell everyone in Zion, the Lord has taken revenge for what Babylon did to us.
I, the Lord, want Babylon destroyed because its army destroyed my temple. So you kings of Media, sharpen your arrows and pick up your shields. Raise the signal flag and attack the city walls. Post more guards. Have soldiers watch the city and set up ambushes. I have made plans to destroy Babylon, and nothing will stop me. People of Babylon, you live along the Euphrates River and are surrounded by canals. You are rich, but now the time has come for you to die. I, the Lord all-powerful, swear by my own life that enemy soldiers will fill your streets like a swarm of locusts. They will shout and celebrate their victory. God used his wisdom and power to create the earth and spread out the heavens. The waters in the heavens roar at his command. He makes clouds appear. He sends the wind from his storehouse and makes lightning flash in the rain. People who make idols are stupid. They will be disappointed because their false gods cannot breathe. Idols are merely a joke, and when the time is right, they will be destroyed. But the Lord, Israel's God, is all-powerful. He created everything, and he chose Israel to be his very own. The Lord said, Babylonia, you were my hammer. I used you to pound nations and break kingdoms, to shatter cavalry and chariots, as well as men and women, young and old, shepherds and their flocks, farmers and their oxen, and governors and leaders. But now my people will watch while I repay you for what you did to Zion. You destroyed the nations and seem strong as a mountain, but I am your enemy. I might even grab you and roll you off a cliff. When I'm finished, you'll only be a pile of scorched bricks. Your stone blocks won't be reused for cornerstones or foundations, and I promise that forever you will be a desert. I, the Lord, have spoken. Signal the nations to get ready for attack. Raise a flag and blow a trumpet. Send for the armies of Ararat, Minni, and Ashkenaz. Choose a commander. Let the cavalry attack like a swarm of locusts. Tell the kings and governors, the leaders and the people of the kingdoms of the Medes to prepare for war. The earth twists and turns in torment, because I have decided to make Babylonia a desert where no one can live, and I won't change my mind. The Babylonian soldiers have lost their strength and courage. They stay in their fortresses unable to fight, while the enemy breaks through the city gates, then sets their homes on fire. One messenger after another announces to the king,
Babylon has been captured. The enemy now controls the river crossings. The marshes are on fire. Your army is panicked.
I am the Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel, and I make this promise. Soon Babylon will be leveled and packed down like a threshing place at harvest time. The people of Jerusalem say,
King Nebuchadnezzar made us panic. That monster stuffed himself with us and our treasures, leaving us empty. He gobbled down what he wanted and spit out the rest. The people of Babylonia harmed some of us and killed others. Now, Lord, make them pay.
My people, I am on your side, and I will take revenge on Babylon. I will cut off its water supply, and its stream will dry up. Babylon will be a pile of rubble where only jackals live. People will laugh, but they will be afraid to walk among the ruins. The Babylonians roar and growl like young lions, and since they are hungry, I will give them a banquet. They will celebrate, get drunk, then fall asleep, never to wake up. I will lead them away to die like sheep, lambs, and goats being led to the butcher. All nations now praise Babylon, but when it is captured, those same nations will be horrified. Babylon's enemies will rise like ocean waves and flood the city. Horrible destruction will strike the nearby towns. The land will become a barren desert where no one can live or even travel. I will punish Marduk, the god of Babylon, and make him vomit up everything he gobbled down. Then nations will no longer bring him gifts, and Babylon's walls will crumble. Get out of Babylon, my people, and run for your lives before I strike the city in my anger. Don't be afraid or lose hope. Though year after year there are rumors of leaders fighting for control in the city of Babylon, the time will come when I will punish Babylon's false gods. Everyone there will die, and the whole nation will be disgraced when an army attacks from the north and brings destruction. Then the earth and the heavens and everything in them will celebrate. Babylon must be overthrown, because it slaughtered the people of Israel and of many other nations. My people, you escaped death when Jerusalem fell. Now you live far from home, but you should trust me and think about Jerusalem. Leave Babylon, don't stay. You feel ashamed and disgraced because foreigners have entered my sacred temple. Soon I will send a war to punish Babylon's idols and leave its wounded people moaning everywhere. Although Babylon's walls reach to the sky, the army I send will destroy that city. I, the Lord, have spoken. Listen to the cries for help coming from Babylon. Everywhere in the country the sounds of destruction can be heard. The shouts of the enemy like crashing ocean waves will drown out Babylon's cries as I level the city. An enemy will attack and destroy Babylon. Its soldiers will be captured and their weapons broken, because I am a God who takes revenge against nations for what they do. I, the Lord all-powerful, the true King, promise that the officials and advisers, the governors and leaders and the soldiers of Babylon will get drunk, fall asleep and never wake up. The thick walls of that city will be torn down and its huge gates burned. Everything that nation worked so hard to gain will go up in smoke. During Zedekiah's 4th year as king of Judah, he went to Babylon. And Baruch's brother Seraiah went along as the officer in charge of arranging for places to stay overnight. Before they left, I wrote on a scroll all the terrible things that would happen to Babylon. I gave the scroll to Seraiah and said, "When you get to Babylon, read this scroll aloud, then pray, 'Our Lord, you promised to destroy this place and make it into a desert where no people or animals will ever live.' When you finish praying, tie the scroll to a rock and throw it into the Euphrates River, then say, 'This is how Babylon will sink when the Lord destroys it. Everyone in the city will die, and it won't have the strength to rise again.'"
Jeremiah's writing ends here. Jeremiah chapter 52. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he was appointed king of Judah, and he ruled from Jerusalem for 11 years. His mother, Hamutal, was the daughter of Jeremiah from the town of Libnah. Zedekiah disobeyed the Lord, just as Jehoiakim had done, and it was Zedekiah who finally rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar. The people of Judah and Jerusalem had made the Lord so angry that he finally turned his back on them. That's why horrible things were happening. In Zedekiah's 9th year as king, on the 10th day of the 10th month, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia led his entire army to attack Jerusalem. The troops set up camp outside the city and built ramps up to the city walls. After a year and a half, all the food in Jerusalem was gone. Then, on the 9th day of the 4th month, the Babylonian troops broke through the city wall. That same night, Zedekiah and his soldiers tried to escape through the gate near the royal garden, even though they knew the enemy had the city surrounded. They headed toward the Jordan Valley, but the Babylonian troops caught up with them near Jericho. The Babylonians arrested Zedekiah, but his soldiers scattered in every direction. Zedekiah was taken to Riblah in the land of Hamath, where Nebuchadnezzar put him on trial and found him guilty. Zedekiah's sons and the officials of Judah were killed while he watched. Then his eyes were poked out. He was put in chains, then dragged off to Babylon and kept in prison until he died. Jerusalem was captured during Nebuchadnezzar's 19th year as king of Babylonia. About a month later, Nebuchadnezzar's officer in charge of the guards arrived in Jerusalem. His name was Nebuzaradan, and he burned down the Lord's temple, the king's palace, and every important building in the city, as well as all the houses. Then he ordered the Babylonian soldiers to break down the walls around Jerusalem. He led away the people left in the city, including everyone who had become loyal to Nebuchadnezzar, the rest of the skilled workers, and even some of the poor people of Judah. Only the very poorest were left behind to work the vineyards and the fields. Nebuzaradan ordered his soldiers to go to the temple and take everything made of gold or silver, including bowls, fire pans, sprinkling bowls, pans, lampstands, dishes for incense, and the cups for wine offerings. The Babylonian soldiers took all the bronze things used for worship at the temple, including the pans for hot ashes, and the shovels, lamp snuffers, sprinkling bowls, and dishes for incense. The soldiers also took everything else made of bronze, including the 2 columns that stood in front of the temple, the large bowl called the sea, the 12 bulls that held it up, and the movable stands. The soldiers broke these things into pieces so they could take them to Babylonia. There was so much bronze that it could not be weighed. For example, the columns were about 27 feet high and 18 feet around. They were hollow, but the bronze was about 3 inches thick. Each column had a bronze cap over 7 feet high that was decorated with bronze designs. Some of these designs were like chains, and others were like pomegranates. There were 96 pomegranates evenly spaced around each column, and a total of 100 pomegranates were located above the chains. Next, Nebuzaradan arrested Seraiah, the chief priest, Zephaniah his assistant, and 3 temple officials. Then he arrested one of the army commanders, 7 of King Zedekiah's personal advisers, and the officer in charge of gathering the troops for battle. He also found 60 more soldiers who were still in Jerusalem. Nebuzaradan led them to Riblah in the land of Hamath, where Nebuchadnezzar had them killed. The people of Judah no longer lived in their own country. Here is a list of the number of people of Judah that Nebuchadnezzar took to Babylonia as prisoners. In his 7th year as king, he took 3,023 people. In his 18th year as king, he took 832 from Jerusalem. In his 23rd year as king, his officer Nebuzaradan took 745 people. So Nebuchadnezzar took a total of 4,600 people from Judah to Babylonia. Jehoiakim was a prisoner in Babylon for 37 years. Then evil Merodach became king of Babylonia, and in the 1st year of his rule, on the 25th day of the 12th month, he let Jehoiakim out of prison. Evil Merodach was kind to Jehoiakim and honored him more than any of the other kings held prisoner there. Jehoiakim was allowed to wear regular clothes instead of a prison uniform, and he even ate at the king's table every day. As long as Jehoiakim lived, he was paid a daily allowance to buy whatever he needed.